You're replaceable. My mother didn't hesitate. She didn't laugh. She didn't soften it. She looked directly at me across the dining table, in front of my older brother Adrian, my younger sister Sophia, and 15 relatives, and said, "You're replaceable, Elena. Don't ever think this bakery depends on you." The words landed harder than shouting. The bakery was closed to customers, but the ovens were still warm. It was my father's birthday memorial dinner, our first without him. The lights were dimmed. Folding tables stretched across the storefront. The air smelled like sugar crust and yeast and the faint metallic heat of cooling racks. Dad's framed photo sat near the register. He was smiling in it. Adrian sat at Mom's right hand, posture straight, already halfway through explaining his expansion strategy for a second location across town. He spoke confidently, gesturing like he was presenting to investors instead of cousins. Sophia leaned back, swirling wine in her glass, talking about brand modernization and how our logo felt dated. She used phrases like visual identity and market repositioning. I was seated at the far end, near the kitchen door, where the flour dust clings to your clothes, where the 4 a.m. starts happen. Mom lifted her glass again. Adrian has leadership, she said warmly. Sophia has creativity. Then her eyes shifted back to me. When Elena leaves, we'll manage. Anyone can follow recipes. There was a small ripple of polite laughter. A few relatives nodded. Someone muttered, "That's true." No one defended me. Not one. For 9 years, I had opened that bakery before sunrise. I negotiated supplier discounts during shortages when flour prices spiked. I handled payroll during slow seasons. I stood alone during inspections. I refinanced our equipment loan when the mixer motor burned out 2 weeks before Christmas. Replaceable. The word echoed differently now. It wasn't criticism. It was dismissal. And somehow, that hurt more. I looked at Dad's photo. He had built this place with calloused hands and a second mortgage. He used to say, "A bakery survives on consistency. Customers don't come for genius. They come for reliability." I was reliability. But reliability doesn't impress a dinner table. Leadership does. Creativity does. Apparently. Mom continued speaking, unaware she had detonated something quiet and irreversible inside me. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just folded my napkin carefully and set it beside my plate. Because what none of them knew, what my mother had clearly forgotten, was what happened 4 years ago when we almost lost everything. The landlord had issued a final warning for unpaid renovation compliance. The bank refused extension without restructuring. Adrian refused to attach his name to personal liability. Sophia said she wasn't good with legal stuff. I signed. The restructuring required majority operational control to transfer to the guarantor. Me. Mom signed too. She trusted me. She thought it was temporary. Crisis management. It wasn't. I never told anyone because I didn't need authority. I needed survival. But sitting there, listening to myself be summarized as replaceable, something shifted. And for the first time since Dad died, I stopped protecting everyone else's pride. 2 weeks later, Adrian scheduled a meeting with the accountant to formalize leadership. He had no idea what was waiting in the registry. The accountant's office smelled like toner and burnt coffee. Adrian leaned back confidently, ankle resting on his knee, already speaking as if the outcome were decided. "We just need to update the management designation. I'll take operational lead. Mom stays majority owner on paper." The accountant nodded slowly and logged into the state registry portal. Click. Scroll. Pause. Then he blinked. "Adrian, you're not the controlling owner." Adrian frowned. "Of course I am. It's a family business." The accountant rotated the screen. Majority shareholder, Elena Navarro. Operational authority, Elena Navarro. Silence. Mom leaned forward. "That's temporary," she said quickly. "That was during the refinancing." The accountant adjusted his glasses. "There's no expiration clause. It transferred under personal guarantee restructuring. It's binding." Adrian's confidence drained visibly. His jaw tightened. So what? We can reverse it. The accountant shook his head. Only if the controlling shareholder signs. He turned slowly toward me. And for the first time, Adrian wasn't smiling. Retention beat. He didn't argue. He didn't yell. He just stared. And then he stood up. The next morning, Adrian brought me coffee. That was new. He placed it beside my prep station while I weighed flour. No hard feelings, he said lightly. We're family. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Of course, I replied. That was when the sabotage began. Without consulting me, Adrian switched our primary flour supplier. Premium import brand. Higher prestige. Higher cost. Lower margin. He framed it as quality elevation. But he signed a 90-day locked contract. Cash flow tightened immediately. I didn't confront him. I watched. Then he signed a digital marketing agency agreement. 3-month prepaid package. No performance guarantee. Large upfront deposit. He called it brand repositioning. I called it reckless. Payroll week arrived tighter than it should have been. Staff started whispering. Retention beat. But Adrian wasn't done. I found it buried in a stack of invoices. Equipment lease. Industrial convection oven. 48-month term. Personal guarantee line blank. But signed under the bakery's name. By Adrian. He did not have authority to bind liability. If processed, it would trigger a covenant review by the bank. If reviewed, they would see instability. If they saw instability, they could call the loan. And foreclosure would begin within 30 days. My hands went cold. This wasn't ego anymore. This was near legal breach. I contacted the leasing company directly. Calm. Professional. Provided restructuring documents. Highlighted signature authority clause. The contract was voided before submission. Adrian never knew how close he came to collapsing everything. But I knew. And I stopped seeing him as misguided. I started seeing him as dangerous. He shifted tactics. In front of staff, he questioned my decisions. Maybe Elena's approach is too conservative. Growth requires risk. Confidence in leadership began to fracture. And that's when he scheduled another family dinner. Same long tables. Same bakery. Same audience. He planned to corner me publicly. Again. Retention beat. But this time, I wasn't unprepared. While reviewing our incorporation binder, I found something I hadn't opened before. A sealed envelope. Dad's handwriting. To be opened if leadership is ever disputed. My pulse quickened. Inside was a notarized amendment. And something much bigger. For years ago, when we restructured, Dad had done something none of us knew. He created a contingency trust. Funded quietly through life insurance and private investments. Value. $2.8 million. Trigger condition. If operational continuity was threatened by internal leadership instability. Full control of the trust activates to the child actively managing day-to-day operations. That child was me. And there was more. If the bakery survived 5 consecutive years under that managing child's authority, the trust permanently transfers. The 5th anniversary. Next month. Retention beat. Adrian wasn't fighting for ego. He was unknowingly racing a clock. Adrian stood at the head of the table this time. We need decisive leadership, he announced. He turned toward me. Elena has paperwork. But leadership is more than signatures. Murmurs. Mom watched silently. I stood. And placed 3 folders on the table. Registry. Void lease documentation. Trust amendment. Silence swallowed the room. I didn't raise my voice. I read the clause slowly. Clear. Precise. Legal. Mom's hands trembled. Adrian's face drained of color. 2.8 million. Sophia whispered. It activates next month, I said calmly. If continuity is maintained. Adrian understood immediately. His sabotage wasn't just risky. It could have forfeited the inheritance. Desperation makes people reckless. 3 days later, Adrian contacted the bank directly. He implied financial mismanagement. Requested a review. If the bank initiated an audit before the 5-year mark, the trust trigger could stall. But he underestimated something. The bank already knew. Because I had proactively submitted updated financials months earlier. The loan officer called me first. Not him. Retention beat. Adrian had just documented his own instability. The bank flagged unauthorized inquiry behavior. Not illegal, but destabilizing. They required written confirmation of operational authority. Signed by majority owner. Me. Adrian's leverage evaporated. 5 years. No default. No interruption. Continuity intact. The trust activated automatically. Funds transferred. Loan paid off in full. Public record updated. We owned the building. Outright. New equipment. Updated storefront. Expanded catering division. Revenue doubled within a year. Staff loyalty solidified. Not through speeches. Through stability. I offered Adrian a salaried operations role. Structured. Defined. No signature authority. He refused. Pride still louder than reason. Sophia took a branding job in another city. She hugged me before leaving. I didn't know, she said quietly. I nodded. She didn't need to say the rest. Mom stopped calling as often. Not angry. Not warm. Just distant. Regret had a shape now. Adrian tried launching his own cafe. High-risk location. High-rent district. No contingency cushion. It failed within a year. He showed up one morning. Thinner. Quieter. I made mistakes, he said. Not dramatic. Just factual. I offered him coffee. I thought Dad would have chosen me, he admitted. I shook my head. Dad chose whoever kept it alive. Silence. That truth hurt him more than any insult. Mom came on a slow Tuesday afternoon. She stood near the register. Where Dad's photo still Saturday. I was wrong, she said. Her voice broke. I didn't see what you were carrying. That hurt more than the original insult. Because this time, she did soften it. A new employee asked me once how long I'd been running the bakery. 9 years, she guessed. 13, I corrected gently. She blinked. Wow, they're lucky. I smiled. Replaceable. The word didn't sting anymore. Closing time. Ovens cooling. Lights dim. I stood alone near the register. Dad's photo reflected faintly in the glass. I whispered quietly. I kept it alive. And for the first time since that dinner, I didn't need anyone else to say I wasn't replaceable. Because survival isn't loud. Leadership isn't flashy. Inheritance isn't always money. And sometimes endurance, consistency, and hard work can make you irreplaceable. Give me a like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoyed the story.